Hi, and welcome to Tomatoes, Toddlers, and Tangents. My name is Lauren, and I'm glad you're here, where the garden's a little wild, the toddlers are a little loud, and we're just taking it one messy day at a time. I am very pleased that you're joining us for the inaugural episode, and I just want to, before we dive into the chaos and messy, crazy, everyday life that is our homestead, just give you a little bit of an introduction to me, to our homestead, and to what this podcast is going to be all about. My name is Lauren, and we live here in northern Georgia on about 20 acres. About 10 of it is in pasture. That includes the house and the gardens and stuff like that. The rest of it's in woods, and probably will stay that way because this is a lot of land. So we thought we needed more land than we really did jumping into this, but we planned to use it because we wanted cows. That's why we decided to go ahead and jump into that much space. But as you can see, this behind me that just looks like green grass, yeah, that's my garden. Things did not go quite the way I expected them to this year, but we'll jump into that later. So here on our homestead, there is me, my husband Brian, and we have two boys. Blaine is 2.5 and Ridian is 10 months. So we are still in the thick of the little years. And we didn't grow up this way. We didn't grow up homesteading. The biggest animal either one of us ever had was a dog. And we never had more than one of those at a time. I didn't. Brian had 2, but still, they were little dogs. And so this whole chickens, cows thing, that's all new for both of us. We really decided to jump into homesteading after about 1.5 years of research. So we were foster parents for a while, and we were seeing how the school system and the food system just did not really set our kids up for success. And when we got pregnant, I started doing all the research on how to give my baby the best head start, first time mom things. And I was running into, did I agree with the way that people were feeding their children and the way that, what was the best sleep schedule and all of those things. But it led us down this path of health, and it started opening our eyes, me and Brian, to the way we were approaching our own health and what we were eating and how that was either good or bad for our bodies. So, the rabbit hole around health and holistic living is deep and wide and sucks you in like a black hole. But after a while, we started a few little things that we could do on our last house because we started doing this in an HOA. So we couldn't dig an in-ground garden. We couldn't have any animals that would be considered livestock or poultry. So that meant no chickens, no cows, sheep, goats, any of that. We even had to get permission to put in a fence, which we didn't have. So all of that was pretty small scale. We started baking as much from scratch. I grew up cooking from scratch, so that wasn't new to me. It was just more of a return to that because I'd gotten a little bit lazy in my adulthood. Convenience called to me. But when you start realizing what you're sacrificing for that convenience, we went back to a little more scratch-made stuff. And just all around started trying to be mindful of what we were doing. Well, the black hole sucked us in again. And we decided that it was time to move. The other deciding factor for those of you who also live in an HOA was that we got a letter from the HOA that our container garden was ugly and we should put it in our backyard because it was along the end of our driveway where it could be seen from the road. And that was no fun. And we also got a call from our neighbor literally on a holiday, not a holiday weekend, on the holiday itself, to tell us that we needed to mow our grass. Brian wasn't even in town that holiday. He and his brother were off in Kentucky doing something, and I got a call from our neighbor who berated me for our grass, which Brian had cut literally the week before. So it was just a downward spiral of bad HOA issues. And Brian doesn't really like people telling him what to do with his own property. So we decided to move. And since we were moving anyway, we decided to go for some land. So that's how we ended up here. And I just guessed that our journey into homesteading was about the health of our family. We didn't have any major health crisis, which is usually what I've seen. You know, there's this big health crisis, health scare, and that's what sort of wakes you up. It wasn't like that for us. It was just little gradual things when I started researching how best to feed my body when I was pregnant, what to feed my toddler, and how old and at what times should I start feeding him solids, and all of these things. And you get so many opinions. And you can't let those opinions decide for you. You have to survey all the facts and all the options and everybody else's opinions as you can see them and figure out what works for you. And in that process, we decided to come up here. Currently, we have laying chickens, which, let me tell you, those are harder than you'd think. I mean, chickens are supposed to be very easy, but we are down to like a 1/3 success rate with our chickens. Like, they keep dying on us. It's very weird. We're going for round 2, though. We're raising up some chicks that we incubated to see if we can get some more of a little bit more of a barnyard mix that's heat tolerant, because I think part of the problem was our chickens were not heat tolerant. But anyway, this is our second summer that we've done meat chickens. We have some lessons learned there too. But all in all, that's not a super difficult process. There's a learning curve for sure, but it's not hard. And we also have cows. So we have a milk cow and a couple smaller baby cows that are getting raised up for beef. Currently there's 4 on our property, 1 milk cow and 3 for beef. And they're in different stages of growth, so they will probably be harvested at different times. One of our neighbors raises cows, so we got a couple cows from him. And then we have this lovely overgrown garden, which we will talk about in our next episode. So I'm really glad that you're here. And I really hope that you'll stick around for episode 2, where we talk more about the garden, the toddlers, and all that entails, and the craziness there. But for now, remember, keep growing, even if it's messy.